Production of Broad and High is funded in part by the Greater Columbus Arts Council, celebrating expression, fostering talent, and connecting the community to Columbus artists, performances, exhibitions, concerts, public art, and more at columbusmakesart.com. From these contributing sponsors and viewers like you, thank you.
This time on Broad and High, fiber artist and fashion designer Celeste Malvar Stewart talks about making her own textiles and the importance she places on mindfulness and making connections. Javier Martinez Herrera explains his recent exhibit and the importance of cultural exchange. Akron artist Meryl Engler explains her work and the inspiration she found in Cuba. And Mo Reen croons some old school country with modern lyrics. This and more right now on Broad and High. Welcome to Broad and High. I'm your host, Kate Quickle. A select group of Ohio artists were invited to travel to Cuba in a cultural exchange with the goal of creating works for the 15th Havana Biennial. Fiber artist and fashion designer Celeste Malvar Stewart was one of those artists. For over 30 years, Celeste has been creating what is called slow fashion by making her own textiles using felting, weaving, spinning, and natural dyeing techniques. We visited her in her studio, where she talked about using ancient techniques to create her very distinct works of fiber art and couture fashion, and how she found inspiration and rejuvenation in Cuba.
My work really consists of the intersection between fashion and art. I create couture pieces, meaning 95% of these pieces are made by hand, and I work using a sustainable model, so I'm very mindful of the materials I use, my supply chain. You know, I'm making most of the pieces, so it's a very mindful way of creating. I had my own brand in San Francisco when I graduated from uni, and I realized that I was filling up these big bins of waste. And although they were all natural fabrics, they were still waste, and they would eventually have gone to the landfill. And so that kind of terror and concern really inspired me and motivates me to this day to think about how do we continue to use more and more waste material, and also any new materials that I'm using, like the alpaca fibers, how sustainable are they? Alpaca is one of the most sustainable fibers and animals to breed, so that is sort of the crux of my motivation. I work with local farmers. I love my local shepherdesses that I work with to obtain their really beautiful, luxurious fibers. I incorporate alpaca and wool and pygora from all Ohio farms, and I felt them. I use these ancient techniques of Nuno felting and natural dyeing to create the surface design and the textile itself. So it's an interesting process because I'm creating the textile as I'm creating the design. My process is unlike a conventional designer's process where, you know, we usually draft a pattern, we cut the fabric, we sew it. The beginning of my process starts obviously at the concept. It's usually the concern, and then I think about how do I address a concern, or how do I begin a conversation around a wearable piece, and then I start to think about it in textile form. So I think about the surface design, the textile, the hand, how does it feel, how does it drape, before I actually begin forming the silhouette. And then as I go and I play a lot, I love exploring, so because there's so much handwork involved, I'll felt samples, I'll Nuno felt samples using different materials and see how they behave and see the outcome. I'll embroider onto the felt sometimes. I'll layer my surface designs. So I create the little pieces of textiles, And then once I know that they're going in the direction I want them to go, I'll naturally dye them. I'll pick my dyes. I have to forage my dyes a lot of times. So when I have all those materials and I like my samples, then I begin to think of the silhouette. And also a lot of times the fibers themselves speak to me because I know all of the animals whose fibers I use. So, you know, if Gandalf is extra curly that summer, then I'm going to kind of go in the direction where I highlight his curls on the textile. We're so accustomed to fast fashion nowadays because that's what we all mostly buy. But there's this slow fashion movement that I love saying that I helped pioneer because I've been doing this for 30 years. And I talked about sustainability when no one really, you know, not many of us were talking about sustainability 30 years ago. So I think it's important to understand that there's a movement and it's a slow fashion movement and everyone can partake in this movement. You know, consumers, makers, designers, manufacturers. I think it's just a sense of mindfulness that we can all have. And it's also, it creates this wonderful connection that I believe happens. So when we can connect with the things that we put on our bodies, we don't want to throw them away. You know, they become special to us, like those beloved pair of jeans that we all have. And so I think that that is a really important platform on which I create, and I'm hoping to continue to pass that down to all of the next generation of makers and artists. One of the most inspiring and moving experiences I had when we were in Cuba was actually going to one of their churches and realizing that as a Filipino American, my culture has so much in common with theirs, down to this idea of having this version of the Virgin Mary that we look to as a deity, and how a lot of our ceremonies and rituals really intersect. And I was moved by the way it was all encompassing. I loved the way the Cuban culture embraces all of the aspects of their culture as a whole. It feels like a melting pot. We go to places here in New York and we say that, but you could really feel it in Cuba, where I felt welcome and I didn't feel like they looked at me like, oh, she's American, or oh, she's Filipino, or oh, she's Asian. It was an interesting lens that I felt like I was being seen there, and I was really moved by that. When we walked through the streets of Cuba, of Havana, we saw so many entranceways, you know, and we don't get to do that here in the US because we all have doors, and we don't have the type of corridors and entryways that they have there. And there were always people either in the entryways hanging out, or a dog sitting there, or their child. And it felt so inviting into like how they live. They could be my neighbor here. You know, the way they live is not any different from the way we live, in a sense that we all want the same things, right? We love our pets, we love our kids, we love to hang out, we love to commune with our neighbors. And so I just love that even though it looked so different and it felt different, the architecture was different, obviously the culture was different, it was not really that much different from the street that I live on here in German Village in Columbus.
To see more of Celeste's work, find her on Instagram at Malvar Stewart. Javier Martinez Herrera is a distinguished Cuban artist and scholar. Textum is a recent exhibit by Herrera at Corral Falso 259, a gallery just outside Havana, Cuba. Textum comes from the Latin verb texo, meaning to weave. It is translated into English primarily as fabric or cloth. In a more abstract sense, textum has been used to describe a speech or text as a fabric of words, emphasizing that words and ideas are woven together to form a coherent whole. In this segment, Javier shares the inspiration behind this work and more.
Yo me llamo Javier Martínez Herrera, soy artista visual, Nací en Cuba y vivo aquí desde hace 63 años. En este momento estoy en Corral Falso exhibiendo mi primera exposición personal que se llama Textum. Textum es una instalación compuesta por dos elementos, un gran tapiz de 4 metros de altura, realizada en la técnica del gobelino, y un gran ovillo también realizado en la técnica del kumiimo, una técnica japonesa. Ambos han sido hechos con papel de periódico. El término de textum es de origen latín y significa tejer y texto. Ambos elementos están presentes en esta instalación en un proceso de construcción del contenido de los periódicos nacionales con los que tejí el tapiz y construí y armé el cordón del ovillo, y para poder llevarlos a un nuevo texto creado a partir del tejido con mis manos. Es un poco la esencia de este trabajo que presento como instalación aquí en Corral Falso. Ser un artista, sea cubano o de otra nacionalidad, yo pienso que es un privilegio, porque es la manera en que uno puede comunicarse con el mundo, entender el mundo y traducirlo a partir del prisma personal en una nueva manera de mostrar el mundo. Además de un privilegio, es para mí una enorme alegría poder ser un creador, y además el poder tener mi cerebro siempre activo, mis manos siempre trabajando, y a través de esos dos instrumentos poder comunicarme directamente con las personas. Eso para mí es muy importante. El intercambio cultural es, yo pienso que algo que ha estado a la par del surgimiento de la humanidad y se ha mantenido por suerte hasta nuestros días. Gracias al intercambio cultural, las personas han podido conocer que existen otros límites que cada vez se extienden más, pueden conocer otras realidades, pueden conocer otras culturas, pueden conocer otra manera de darse cuenta que todos los seres humanos somos iguales en el mundo, pero nos diferencia, digamos, los entornos en los que nos movemos. Pero la esencia humana es la misma. Tener la posibilidad de participar en un intercambio cultural es también tener la posibilidad de enriquecerse humanamente, intelectualmente, culturalmente. Y es realmente una dicha que las personas puedan hacer uso del intercambio cultural. Lamentablemente el mundo no está cada vez, el mundo está cada vez más propenso a crear barreras para ese intercambio cultural de disímiles formas. Pero pienso que el mismo motor que llevó a la humanidad a desarrollarse como se ha desarrollado hasta el día de hoy, siempre rompe esas barreras. Y es una manera, yo pienso que esencial para la existencia humana.
See more of his work on Instagram. Akron woodcut artist Meryl Engler is another artist who traveled to Cuba. She experienced day-to-day life in Havana and found inspiration in the culture and in the connections she made. As you'll see in this segment, her resulting artwork fits well with the biennial's theme of shared horizons.
Went to Cuba in March of 2024. We were there for a week. We were in Old Havana, so it's an older part of the city. Things are built upwards. There's not a ton of space. People have to live really openly, and people have to live outdoors a lot. The weather has something to do with that too. And coming out of the winter in Ohio, you're not used to that. That was really inspiring. I really liked it. We split our time between the printmaking studio in Havana, doing a lithograph print with them, with their master printers, and working in the home studio of Abel Barroso, who is a woodcut artist and sculpture artist.
I myself am almost not a boomerang because I've always just traveled to the next place where I live.
I was always slightly let down by my work because I didn't have the time or resources to do the things that were in my brain until I discovered woodcut. I loved how physical it was. I loved that I could work really large. I loved that I could roll it up afterwards and store it easily. The woodcut process basically involves carving an image into a piece of plywood. You're carving onto the planar surface of the plywood into the long grain, not the end grain. So plywood is the most kind of economical option for it. You're carving away either the negative space or where light would hit in your image. And the thing that's left behind, the surface that's left behind, gets inked up, rolled ink onto it, and then the paper goes on top of that and transfers onto the paper through pressure applied to it and forms the print. When people think of woodcut, they think of black and white, really high graphic, Western style woodcuts, and my work is a lot more colorful and layered, and I almost think of them as watercolors in a way. I grew up in Southern California, right by the beach, and that definitely comes into my work in terms of themes around water and movement and how lights move onto water. I go through phases where I think about the wave a lot, and that changes throughout. I've lived a lot of places, and each one I think impacts certain series of my works. From a very early age, I knew I wanted to go to school for art, and I wanted to go to a place that had both a really good art program and sports. So Syracuse fit that bill. I rode for 4 years at Syracuse University. After grad school, I coached full-time in Portland, Oregon. Wasn't really doing a lot of art. After a while, kind of reevaluated what I wanted and decided that I wanted to make art a priority and not coaching. So I applied to an artist residency at Rubber City Prints in Akron, got it, and was able to move out here it was supposed to be for a year, and then COVID hit. With the pandemic, I decided, okay, I'm gonna stay in Akron, and so I was able to find work, and the art scene accepted me and got me into it, and I was able to work in there and find shows and continue making work and continue to grow. I really loved it here, so decided to stay, basically. In Cuba, I really loved getting to just meet the people in general, and I was really inspired by their lifestyle. I've lived multiple places in the US, and each one has its own kind of vibe and visual kind of thinking and culture. Cuba is completely different. I've never been anywhere in like a Latin American country. The colors, how they painted their houses, the way the sun hit things. They're combinations of colors that I would never think to put together, like pinks and greens and yellows, turquoise everywhere. And it made it for like a very fun, vibrant kind of city. When you think of Cuba, maybe it's not as different. You're gonna find similarities in either people or lifestyle, in landscape, no matter where you are. Having the work be some sort of combination between like what's happening in Ohio, what's happening maybe in America, versus kind of what our experiences were in Cuba.
To see more of Meryl's work, find her online at merylengler.com. Kathleen Duffy, aka Maureen, is a country and folk singer-songwriter who writes from the heart for the heart. Their old-school honky-tonk vocals are uniquely married to contemporary lyrics. Maureen, along with West, Alex, Nate, and Julia, joined us in the studio for a Broad and High Presents recording. Take a listen to the amazing result.
I could have been his, I could have been hers, but I'm happy to say that I'm yours. I have loved many people in this life, never dreamed I'd take a husband or a wife. And it's true, I'm of the roving kind, with the wandering eye and curious mind. Ah, but you came along one sunny day,
To hear more, you can find them on Instagram at Weepy Maureen. Well, that's our show. Remember, you can find all of our stories online at WOSU.org as well as on our YouTube channel. For all of us here at WOSU, I'm Kate Quickle. Thanks for watching.
Oh, the world is getting hotter. It's because of you and me. And my love for you is rising like the levels of the sea. It's an inevitability. You're dying here with me. So why deny the climate of our love? You've tried before to throw our love away, buried it below till you ran out of space, sent it up in smoke till it came down from above, raining acid, burning love. Oh yes, the world is getting harder, but it doesn't have to be. Could admit it's all on fire and confess to.
Production of Broad and High is funded in part by the Greater Columbus Arts Council, celebrating expression, fostering talent, and connecting the community to Columbus artists, performances, exhibitions, concerts, public art, and more at columbusmakesart.com.